It's Saturday, the 27th of March, 2021. Today's show, we run the rule over yet another last-minute kick in the bollocks, this time courtesy of Joe Edwards and the Pilgrims. I'm John Aspinall, and this is the Seasiders podcast match reaction show. Blackpool 2, Plymouth Argyle 2.
Ollie's already changed the world. Small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Seasiders podcast match reaction show. Nick, just unmute yourself.
Done, John, done.
You're muted. That's the key phrase of 2021 and on this entire lockdown period, I think.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. That was Nick. Tim, not happy man, not happy camper this evening, are you?
No, I've had to put an extra little shot in my gin tonight just to keep me smiling.
What you on then? What we all on this evening?
I'm on... go on, Tim.
Oh, I'm on a G&T, so there we go. A very diluted one, I hasten to add. It's not that strong.
A Prosecco, but also, as I was saying before, I had my COVID job this morning. I'm feeling a little bit wiped out. So I've got some orange juice for me paracetamol that I've just had.
I have warned him offline. He's going to feel like he's been out on a walk with me tomorrow. He's going to feel like he's done a 20-miler. You will not get out of bed, I promise you. Happened to me 2 weeks ago. I was never lie in bed, but
he might rise from the dead like a certain son of an ex-chairman, Lazarus.
Yeah, you could be. You'll be about 8 o'clock tomorrow night. You'll be Lazarus. You'll be up and about and buzzing.
Yeah, I've no plans for tomorrow. Put it that way. Very efficient, though. I have to say, in and out in 10 minutes. Yeah, all good.
Quick in and out.
And of course, it's only those of a certain vintage who get the opportunity to have these jabs.
Yes, did feel a bit old today.
You're not as vintage. You're not in the certain vintage category yet, Nick, are you? You're knocking on the door, surely.
It's
but not in that category.
You just had a hard paper around, that was all.
It's my ticker, my health condition, so I must have been there.
Ticker. Ray, good evening. Hang on a minute. Ray, he's on the Rhinebacker.
Oh,
very nice.
Credit, Ray. Is he out?
There we go.
Tomorrow, do we know?
There we go. Great minds think alike, eh, Ray? Right, welcome to everybody on the stream anyway. Oh, bit of a kick in the bollocks, I said on the intro. Forgot to say the name of the podcast, which is going to be Bongs and Lines, in reference to the way we started both halves. First half, pretty much bongs, Nick.
Yeah.
Most evident today in the way the game started.
Yeah, I was just looking down at my notes, and it mainly just says Plymouth. For most of the first half, we certainly weren't at the races, were we, for that first half? I mean, we'll come on to it, but I think you've got to give Plymouth some credit as well, the way they set up and pressed us, and we just we didn't have any answers really, did we, for that first half? The
lines are in relation to the halftime lines that Neil Critchley was making the team do on the blackboard, saying, "I must start this half better. I must start this half better. I must start this half better." If anyone wants to know what that's a reference to, right? Anyway, let's get on with the show. Tim, always come to you first on the old team lineups. There it is. Well, it's just same as the last game, which was Maxwell, Gabriel, Turton, Thornley, Garbutt, Dougal, Ward, Mitchell, Embleton, Kai, and Yates. So on the Friday night preview show, Tim, there was a bit of consternation about who was going to start. Thornley being the main bone of contention.
And probably with hindsight, with some justification, as we'll go on to discuss. But I think probably the only decision in relation to the starting lineup was that issue of whether you bring Gretson back in place of Thornley. I think otherwise, but you've got to look. Listen, we're looking at this with the benefit of hindsight. I think when I saw that team, I thought, I'm not surprised he's done that. You listen, we played fantastic Tuesday night, and that was a team that played fantastic on Tuesday night. My only other thing I noticed when I saw the team come up at 2:00 was, where was Brad Holmes? And with my intel, he's got a sore throat, which was a bit unlucky for him, because I actually thought that if things had gone right today, he might have actually made his debut. But the bench looked very light, didn't it? I think that's obviously we've got 3 great to see young lads on there, but what it shows is that we really are stretching the squad to its absolute maximum at the moment, aren't we, in relation to with all the injuries? And I always
kind of picks itself, Tim, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I just felt we didn't
Viking
have a plan. We didn't really have a plan B. And I suppose you've got Ellis Sims to bring on, haven't you? To if you want to create that plan B, but in the continued absence of Medine, and in the continued absence of various other players, obviously I think we've got 7 first teamers out, haven't we? It does. The problem is it does limit our options, and like you say, it picks itself. The team picked itself, and I couldn't see a lot happening off the subs bench either.
Nick, over to you. Your thoughts when you saw the team line up?
Same as Tim, really. Like you say, I mean, pretty much 10 of them pick themselves, don't they, at the moment? And then it was whether he'd chuck the Viking back in or not. And like we say, it's wonderful with hindsight, isn't it, to say maybe he should have. But the flip
Sean
of it
called
is,
it though, Nick, on the previous show. We go.
Yeah, and I spoke to Jim. Yeah,
he said Thornley on the ball today, hadn't he? I think what Sean said was, you've got to be ruthless in this hunt for promotion. If a player's played well last game, and if a better player's coming in, he always gets the nod. And I think what he said was, all right, Thornley's got his distribution with his diagonals, but you want more of a defender with tactical awareness and more of awareness of what's going on. That prioritises, a Hollywood Bowl diagonal.
Yeah. And obviously, half time he's made the change, hasn't he? But other than that, you look at the bench and there's young lads on there. There's not a lot of experience, so there's not too much you can do there, really.
I think the only other option that we could have gone for is maybe get Ellis Sims back into this side, and maybe this system that we're falling onto now. This, I don't know, what is it, 4-2-3-1. Sims could have been a more of a potent threat in that kind of system, perhaps. I think it's the only change we could have shoehorned in.
Yeah, but on the back of the way we've been playing the last 2.5 games, really, since second half against Burton, and then the last 2, we've been playing well, haven't we? Probably as well as we've played all season. So you can understand why he's kept it the same.
Right, Sim. Let's go on to the game then itself. We've all got our little notes. Have you done your notes today, Tim?
I have. I've got one word. I've written for the first 15 minutes.
Bag of shite. Oh, that's 3 words, isn't it?
No, a little bit more intellectual than that. Insipid.
There's a Tim, isn't?
Well, there's one. Tell you what, Nick, we need a little bing sound effect whenever times is Timism.
And just for the benefit of the listeners,
see if I can get one. Go on.
The definition of insipid is lacking in qualities that interest, stimulate, or challenge, dull, flat. So I think that probably sums up our start to the game fairly well. It almost from the first kick of the game, we weren't at it, were we? And you could tell within about 2 minutes, I could tell we were not like we were on Tuesday night. And I think we, straight away, like people weren't controlling the ball. All this pressing, this high line press, they did it. The high line pressing that we were doing on Tuesday night against Peterborough they did it to us, and we couldn't cope with it, and we didn't do it to them, and it was literally like that from the off, and I just had this bad feeling all the way through the game. Too many people were like tripping over the ball, kicking it out of play, not finding the man.
They certainly were tripping in that first half.
And so that was the word I wrote. The first word I wrote down was insipid.
Josh has got another word, maybe not as good from your vocab, Tim. That was dog shit. Tim just said, Phil just said Tim should be on countdown. Effing countdown. Insipid is also defined as Larry Grayson. So, and I've got sound effects anyway. So every time Tim comes up with one, there you go.
Oi.
So yes, it was an insipid performance from Blackpool in the first half. Nick, in my notes, I've just put. This is one thing I've noticed at the stadium, the last game. Just 2 minutes in, Kai and one of their centre, I think they're right back. They've both been nailed on that metal stanchion on the right hand side. These weird metal railings. I actually thought that game looks a bit dangerous to me.
It just looks a bit close, doesn't it? When they've both clattered into it.
Tim, what's the story behind those railings? What are they there for?
They were in when we came in, and but actually it was mentioned on Tuesday night, wasn't it? I think by Andy Bays, and that they were a bit too close to the pitch, and they're a bit unforgiving, aren't they? I mean, if you have a board, if you have a board on the front of them, which we did, then it acts as a bit of a cushion, doesn't it? Because they used to have advertising on them. But because the cameras moved to the other side, all the advertising's gone to the side of the pitch. To be honest, if I was the club, I would just put perspex across the front of them to give it a bit of a cushion. Because at the moment, I think it's actually dangerous.
I think it's dangerous, yeah. Maybe for parents of children under a certain age who visit these soft play centres, they have kind of everything wrapped up in this padding or something. So I think they possibly need something like that, or just take them down.
Just put like a blank sign. What was previously there was it was front of line advertising. Just put a blank piece of the perspex that you would use to do the advertising in front of it, and at least then they're hitting plastic, not metal. Maybe
like some sort of like a sloping ramp board so they can fly off and over it.
It's a serious injury waiting to happen. If somebody's head hits it, then I'm quite surprised they haven't. Anyway, I'm sure. Listen, I think after what we saw today, I'm pretty sure something will happen, because that can't happen again.
No, dust off the old Paul Ince banner. On my notes, Nick, I've put Thornley with a failed diagonal on 5 minutes. He tried one of his Hollywood balls and it just went out for a throw. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I mean, things with Thornley, his distribution generally is okay. He's all right on the ball. It's his positioning, isn't it, where he falls down, and particularly to that ball over the top or around the back, as we saw, just looks a bit flat-footed, doesn't he? To me, and Hardy certainly had the better of him that first half. I think they've hit the post, didn't they, on about 7 or 8 minutes, was it?
The next item in my notes, yeah. Niall Ennis, on loan striker from Wolves, very unlucky, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. He's got his shot across, got past Thornley, and thankfully it's hit the post. But the warning signs were there, weren't they? Like Tim said, it was an insipid start, certainly.
I like that.
9 minutes, Tim. And I've put in my notes another shit Garbett free kick from a dangerous position.
Yeah, it was all set up for him, to be honest, wasn't it? It was
perfect angle.
It was all lined up for that left foot curl, and it didn't get any lift on it. Didn't get it. Well, whether he'd spotted a bit of a gap in the wall, I don't know. That he thought he could exploit, but that's been kind. I suspect he just didn't hit it particularly well, which was again a reflection of the way we were playing in that the early phase of play. But yeah, it was a bit disappointing, because you looked at it and you thought we could do something from this, and I know
it's about the only thing we did in the first 25 minutes. Wasn't it?
He's better than that, isn't he?
Yeah, you expect more from him in those situations. It's happened a few times.
And he's set a high bar, to be fair, hasn't he? And so you do expect a little bit more. If I'm giving the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to say he saw a gap in the wall, tried to exploit it, and it was closed.
Look it out.
But I'm clutching at the proverbial straws.
Has he paid you to come on this evening, Tim, and say
there's a check in the post?
So, Nick, Blackpool have obviously been smoking half-time bongs, pre-match bongs rather, and it was no surprise to see us go 1 down, 13 minutes. I've just written soft ball over the top. Thornley exposed, and was it one of their players that had a shot and Hardy knocked a rebound in?
Yeah, I don't know if Maxwell got a touch onto it, and it came off the post again, didn't it? Straight to Hardy, and he's slotted home. And that's the thing with Thornley, isn't it? It's I don't know, that positional sense, or he's
anytime there's a ball over the top, you're worried, aren't you?
Yeah, once someone's got a half a yard on him, that's it, isn't it? He's not quick enough to recover. And it's obviously something teams see, because it's not the first time it's happened, is it? And he is susceptible to it, and it had to be Hardy, didn't it? Didn't really get much of a look in at Blackpool, so should have had a bet on it, to be honest. But there you go.
Tim, your views on the goal?
It was coming, wasn't it? Obviously, we'd had the let off earlier on. And he just summed up our. I mean, it was a comedy of errors, wasn't it? It was. I think the only person who came out of it with any form of with his reputation intact, shall we say, in relation to that particular incident was Maxwell, because he had got a touch on one of the shots, hasn't it? And then it come out to Hardy had all the time in the world to pick his spot, and he with that he warranted the manager's decision to play him ahead of the guy who played for Wales the other night. So there was a few expletives in our house because it just summed up that start. The whole start to the game was just wrong, and it just sort of mirrors the issue we've had against. And this is no disrespect to Plymouth, but what you would define probably is the lesser teams. And what I mean by that is teams in the bottom half. If you analyse our performances against teams in the bottom half as a whole, they're shocking. Demonstrated, we dropped points against Wimbledon, we dropped points against Burton, we got beaten by Bristol Rovers, got beaten by Shrewsbury. These are just off the top of my head recently. And then we beat Hull, we beat Peterborough. We give all the good Oxford, we give all the good teams a good game, and we play someone in the bottom half. We don't have to. I think it's because I don't know. It's because psychologically,
mentality, yeah, the psychology of it.
We think, we think we're going to win, and therefore we don't start the game giving them, the opposition, the proper respect they deserve. I don't know, but there's a pattern, and it's actually becoming a bit irritating because our opposition, we're doing fantastic against the teams in and around us, and then they're dropping bollock after bollock after bollock against teams that if we want to go up, or if we want to be at least in contention, we should be putting to the sword.
Nick, have you got any thoughts on this strange phenomenon of?
I wondered whether I don't know. Is there a bit of tiredness after the last couple of games with the performances we've put in with that high press? I don't know. It does seem to be a bit of a worrying feature at times, though. It is Saturday, Tuesday, isn't it? So that might be a factor in it. And
yeah, I suppose could have taken it a lot out of them. The effort they put into the Posh game. And
I suppose the flip of it is to give them credit. We haven't played well, but we've ended up not getting beat. It's still, I think we're unbeaten in 11 still, isn't it? So we're top 6 and we're still in there. So there's still plenty to be positive about, that's for sure.
Yeah. Tim, on my notes, I've got two things. 17 minutes, there was a great diagonal from Thornley, if you remember, just over the head of the defender, and from Thornley to Mitchell, just gets over the left back, and Mitchell's bearing down on goal, and he's taking a heavy touch. So I think Mitchell he played very well today, very positive, and also free header from Hardy on 20 minutes from the corner, if you remember, from
that was a bit disappointing.
Should have scored.
It was a bit disappointing from our perspective that we had nobody on him. And again, it comes back to this disjointedness we had in the first half, where I don't think I've always felt in the last few games that we've had about 2 or 3 captains on the pitch who've led by example. I think we've had Yates at the top end. We've had Dougal in the middle, and we've had probably Ballard alongside Turton at the back, and they've all been so on top of the game that they've like dragged everybody else. They've always made sure everybody comes with them, and all the way through that spine, it was. Well, I'm not going to use the same word again because
think of another one. Come on, my hands over the rim shot.
But it was. It was everybody was performing 2 notches down, weren't they? From
complacency, as Cliff said there, I'm Steve. Complacency.
We were 2 notches down. Where everybody was playing at 7s, 8s, and 9s on last Saturday and last Tuesday. We're all at 5s and 6s, and it wasn't just the one player, and Thornley is probably going to be a little bit of a fall guy, isn't he? And he was the fall guy because he got taken off at half time. But you could have gone around that pitch and you could have picked about 5 or 6 players who you would have hooked if you had the players to replace them, because there was, and some of it will be down to the fact that they've got game after game after game after game, but some of it will be down to the fact that they just didn't turn up today for whatever reason.
Phil's just said in the comments, I wouldn't say we looked shattered, more like lazy. Embleton was just strolling around. It was a key part of the first half. A lot of players just not putting a shift in.
Yeah, they didn't seem to be. And he's done really well the last couple of games, hasn't he, Embleton? He's kind of had good energy. He's helped to knit everything together. And yeah, there's 1 or 2 just look to be strolling. I do, like I said earlier, though, I do think we've got to give Plymouth some credit as well, that press and the way they closed us down. There was a few times where we're getting the ball on the halfway line and they're looking forward, who can I give it to? And they're having to go back again because, they've done a job on us. So, we take plenty of plaudits, don't we, when we do the high press.
Yeah. It was like the Wimbledon game all over again. It was like the Wimbledon, what were those other teams?
Do you also think part of it was down to the fact that we weren't off? Because I 100% agree with you. The number of times I saw, whether it be Thornley or Dougal or Turton, who had the possession, and where on Tuesday night they always seem to have options. Today they didn't actually. To be fair to them, when they're in possession, and this is why they were going square, there was nobody showing for them, and quite often there was gaps in the centre of midfield, and I'm thinking, well, where are we? Where are the players dropping in? Where's Embleton? Where's Yates? Where's whoever? Doesn't matter who it is. I'm going to use them as examples, but there was never. We were playing all these triangles on Tuesday night and doing it really, really well, but the triangle was breaking down because there wasn't that second option. To create that triangle passing, you've got to have 2 options, and we only ever had one. And more often than not, it was sideways rather than forward. It was always sideways.
Dougal wasn't as effective today, Tim.
No,
he was very sloppy in his possession as well. It's weird. Maybe that was a contributing factor.
But I think it was there was like a group lethargy going on, wasn't there? There was
hang on.
There
group lethargy. There you go.
It was collective. Yeah, it was so weird because it was all over, and it didn't matter who was on the ball. They only ever had that one option rather than 2, and it never got any better.
It did get slightly better, Nick, on 29 minutes. I've written Ward unlucky from 25-yard, capitalising on a defensive slip. Good save from the keeper.
Yeah, loose ball from the Plymouth lad, wasn't it? And he's picked it up, had a run towards goal, and decent strike, to be fair. He's hit it well. And
we had that corner routine after.
We did, yeah, where I think it was Mitchell dummied it, didn't he, and let it run to Kai, and he got his shot in. But unfortunately it was cleared. So yeah, it picked up a little bit, but it kind of had to, didn't it, really?
Who, when that corner was taken, be honest, was about to scream at the TV. Do you know what I'm going to say, don't you?
Yeah, I did think.
Short corners! I was just about to... The words were just coming out of my mouth, and I saw Mitchell dummy it. I thought, but Tim, it was a good corner. It was a good... They obviously rehearsed it.
It's clearly a training ground.
Should have done better, really.
It's a training ground move that on another day would come off, to be fair, isn't it? So, it's probably one of the, not that there were many, highlights of the half, wasn't it? Because it actually, you looked at that and thought, well, that's been practiced. It's not just happened, that, has it? It's something that's been rehearsed. And yes, it didn't come off, but another day it would do, wouldn't it? To be fair, just like on Tuesday, and and I'm not a great fan of the short corners, but when you watch it back, and obviously we only a limited amount of time on Tuesday, Embleton walks away as if he's going in the middle, it's going to come in, and then he very purposely, very quickly comes back, loses his marker, and is able to do the 1-2 effectively. If you set up like you're doing a 1-2, which is what we normally do and what we don't like, it's easier to defend, isn't it? Because you're always going to have two men out there to make sure that doesn't happen. But when you watch that one back, it worked. And again, that was obviously a training ground routine. So there's clearly stuff going on the training ground, which actually is finding its way onto the pitch, which is good to see.
Just need Dan Ballard in there doing his little point one way and going the other trick. Sort of
but they fall for it every
to
time, isn't it? They fall for it every time. It's like watching Stan Matthews did the same thing for 30 years of his professional career, didn't he?
Dropped one
shoulder and then went the other way. But they fall for it every time. I chuckle every time I see him do it. Point one way, player automatically. It's like a react. What do you call it? It's like a thingy reaction, isn't it? Where somebody taps your knee with a hammer and it makes your leg go up.
Reaction, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey Tim, it's walking football again on Monday, so maybe we should incorporate this little trick into our routine. So if I'm against you and I see you pointing one way, I know the ball.
I'm going to give it a go. I think.
John, I don't know if you've seen in the comments. Is it Phil Holmby's put CJ and Virtue both out for the season?
Oh Jesus,
that is a blow, isn't it?
This must be the worst ever year for injuries we've ever had.
Yeah, they're two key players, aren't they? And they're the type of players you want if you're getting into the playoffs against a top team.
He didn't look right. He didn't look right, CJ, when he came back, though, did he? To be fair, he looked like he'd lost something. And
look at that ACL. That's a bad injury.
That is not good. And what's the update with Stewart? Was his ligaments in the end? Did we find out?
I thought it was an ankle. Was it an ankle?
Yeah, ankle ligaments. I couldn't remember, but it's going to be tough, isn't it, without them?
The squad's been stretched. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
That is a big blow. Final bit of action in the first half I've written when Thornley was turned by Harvey, putting Tim in a great position to get shot away. Got the whole game set goal to aim at, and he's fortunately for us smacked it straight at Maxwell. And I know it's Dougal in the build up for that being very sloppy in possession, giving the ball away.
Yeah, I think it was a feature of the first half amongst all the team was sloppy in possession. I think one of the positives tonight was that, or this afternoon, when we look back tonight, is that Maxwell's handling was actually generally very good, and I thought he seemed to get down to everything. He looked very positive. He's looking, he looks very accomplished. But yeah, it's disappointing that we just seem to give the opposition, particularly in the scenario you're speaking about, far too much time. And I think the decisions that were made at half time were a reflection of how often that was happening in the first half. It was just unacceptable, really.
I think we're very lucky to be going into half time, Nick. Only one goal down in this game, and we dodged a bullet, really.
Yeah, it could easily have been 2, if not 3, definitely. So, yeah, probably quite lucky in that respect. And you hope then at half time that there's going to be an honest conversation in the dressing room, maybe a change, and it happened with Viking coming on for Thornley, and we certainly upped things in the second half.
We certainly did. Tim, one minute in, and Kaikai's poked in after great work on the right hand side from Mitchell, who had a very good game for me. And I've written their left back did a Thornley.
Yeah, he'd. As I recall, right, the ball it was fairly central in his penalty area, and he'd had a nightmare touch. It goes out to the right. We nip in, get the ball, and he picks out Kai. It wasn't the greatest shot in the world, but it just seemed to trickle through everybody. It was almost like
like a slower ball in. It's like a slower ball in cricket when you fast bowl.
It was almost to me like the ball's invisible and nobody could actually see where it was. And it just everybody was like piling around it, and it just went all the way through.
You do get those times when the world just kind of stops, doesn't it? And you can see what you want to do, but your body doesn't react.
Yeah,
and it just happens.
They did seem to have. I think they'd had the proverbial hairdryer treatment at halftime, hadn't they? Whether Calderwood had stepped in and said something or whatever, but they most certainly came out with far more purpose in the second half, and it was a crappy goal, but it was built on doing what we hadn't done in the first half, which was pressing high and forcing errors from the opposition, and then taking advantage of those errors. So it was the ideal start to the second half.
Nick, so obviously we've not talked about the substitution at half-time. There was a lot of chat in our Patreon WhatsApp group about the Viking has to come on for Thornley. Me putting it first, I may hasten to add. Were you surprised when it actually happened? Because I was. I didn't think he'd do it at half-time.
Yeah, I wonder
whether he might. Move from Coach Critchley anyway.
Yeah, I wonder whether he might wait a little bit longer, but why would you? It needed to be done, didn't it? Definitely, because Hardy had the measure of him, didn't he? So, and it wasn't going to get... I don't think he was going to get any better in the second half. So it was the right thing to do. I was laughing at Phil's comment with Kai Kai.
Here's the presidents of the Kai Kai fan club.
Kai Kai Appreciation Society, El Presidente and lifetime member.
Well, he was in the right place, though, wasn't he, to slot it home and,
to scuff it home, I'd say, Nick. It was a scuff similar to his scuff.
But he could have skied it. So, let's be grateful it ended up in the back of the net.
It's in the back of the net. But Tim, did you notice after we've scored, Chizzy's going, "Oh, I feel really sorry for Ryan Lowe." In fact, you put something on the WhatsApp chat, the chat group, didn't you?
To be honest, it was irritating me today. I'll take the Chisisms. Gabriel called Garbett, so he's talking about Garbett on the right.
Luke Gabriel.
When it's clearly Gabriel. Well. He then talks about Aki losing to Plymouth, even though Blackpool were playing Plymouth. So the game he was commentating on. And Luke Gabriel. And what was that one? What was the one in the second half that you just mentioned then?
Oh.
What you actually asked me about? Oh, no, he was saying basically, you've got to feel sorry for Ryan Lowe. I went, fuck off. Why would we feel sorry for Ryan Lowe?
It's the constant talking about Accrington as well throughout the game. I know I get why they have to do it because it's part of the radio coverage, but it annoys me on follow coverage for Blackpool. All right, say it every now and then, but there's no need to be constantly going on about the team's scores when you know your feed's being used.
Blackpool should have their own commentary, bespoke commentary, whether they can get Jed Mills or whatever, or whoever. Let's get our own commentary and cut this nonsense. And why would? And listen, he's a Blackpool-based commentator. Why would you say you've got to feel sorry for Ryan Lowe? It's just like everybody in the room watching. It's like three of us watching. Went, what? It's like bizarre.
Just to flip that on its head, I thought Michael Jackson was superb,
and it did lead to a very entertaining second half where we played word association with Michael Jackson songs. And it was very successful during the first period because we scored 2 goals while we were doing it.
I thought mine was best. Critchley told Thornley to beat it at half-time.
You were all Googling it by the end, though, because you'd run out of all the famous ones. It was like, well, I've not heard of that one. Someone's on Google here.
I did the easiest ABC. Listen, but it was a bit of fun and it worked. And then as soon as we stopped doing it, we went crap again.
Just on the commentary thing, just very quickly going back to that before we move on. I listened to The Hard Truth. It's the Darren McAntony's podcast, and he's saying a lot of clubs are now talking about dumping iFollow and just doing their own productions. Doing their own videos, their own audio, and just not going to bed with an iFollow. So that'll be interesting if that comes up. You can have your own bespoke TV and streaming service. I think that's the way forward.
I don't know why you wouldn't.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't
you've got Tangerine TV. You know, the Blackpool doing the thing on a Friday night. They have their own people doing the footage anyway. Which they get students in or whatever. We saw Sam did Fleetwood under 18s because they're in that cup competition on Wednesday night, and they had like somebody from the Community Trust on the camera. The camera angle was fine, and that their commentary was far superior to what we have to put up with week in, week out. And I follow, because at the end of the day, to be fair to the guys who are doing the I follow commentary, they're all working for local radio. Now, if you're actually doing commentary for local radio, you've got a different focus than you have for the people who are actually watching live. And the
Accrington references throughout the game.
So we don't want references to Accrington.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, you want a bespoke Blackpool-based commentary. You want a pre-match. Hopefully, we don't have to put up this too much longer. We want a half time. We want to go into a studio at half time and have some not just go to some excuse the vernacular.
Just goes off.
Crappy adverts. You want to go to a little studio where you can have 2 or 3. There's no reason why.
Where you can have the Seasiders podcast team giving expert halftime analysis.
I'm sure we'd offer our services, wouldn't we? But it's so easy to do stuff like that these days.
Well, look at this, for example.
However you do it and whoever you do it with, and then you want a post-match show. So, if we're not going to be able to be in the ground, why are we listening? All we get at half time is the adverts telling us not to do illegal streams, some generic adverts, and then it goes quiet, and it's not very engaging, is it?
We might be talking ourselves out of a job here, actually, Tim. So let's shut up. Johnny's put a good point there. No, not Johnny. Where was it? James, sorry. In EFL rights issue, sure, yeah, he might have a point there. But
Oliver's just mentioned, can we do an alternative commentary? And I have actually thought
we've done one, haven't we? Once.
I know, but I think we maybe should do Sunderland. I think we should think about Sunderland and maybe have another go at it. And I've got to make sure Sam's available because he's the only one that can commentate properly.
You don't know yet. None of us have had a go. We might be naturals.
Yeah, we might have some
next. We do on Nick. How's about it?
Hidden talents, might we?
Yeah, we could give it a go, but
give it half cut.
You've actually got to do some. You got to do some studying beforehand. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You've got to be in the same room, haven't you? You can't be doing it from separate houses because you're all at different points, aren't you?
Yeah.
Can have a go though. We can have a go anyway.
Come Sunderland, I think there's anyway. We'll do that. We'll talk
the one
about
we did. The one you and Sam did was great, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh well, if nothing else, Sam will have a go at Sunderland if he's available. So, but I think that's probably they're the games. Obviously, I can't remember exactly when they are now, but they're the games where I think we should have a go at doing it because I think we'll get some good views.
Speaking of views, the views for this live stream are less than half of the last game.
What a surprise!
Yeah. Fucking last minute equaliser. That's cost us half our viewers.
So fickle Blackpool fans, aren't they?
It's like Nick, the old thing of never looking at the league table when you get beat.
It does, yeah. It ruins your weekend a bit. Although we didn't get beat today, did we? But yeah, it's kind of when it's last minute, it almost feels like a defeat, doesn't it? It's kind of like, right, switch my phone off. I don't want to watch the highlights. I'm not reading the paper.
Media blackout, you used to call it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Media blackout. But yeah, we've not lost anyway, so it felt like a defeat, though. Right, back to the game. Tim, I've put 51 minutes. Mitchell curls one just wide after a great first touch. Creates some space. So it was a ball over to him on the right-hand side. He's done a little dummy gone one way, created a load of space, cut in from the left and curled it just wide. Did he get a touch?
No, it went wide. It was a bit of quality, to be fair, and it was one of those where you thought, right, we're having a go here, and obviously we'd got the equaliser as we spoke about before, and we were taking the game to Plymouth, and that was it was good to see him be so positive, and that's what we wanted to see from all the team. It was always going to be. It'd have to be something exceptional to score from that distance. And it was, like you say, it was probably 3 or 4 yards wide of the left-hand upright, wasn't it? So, but yeah, it was good to see. It was one of those ones where I think even Chizzy said, didn't he, that Michael Jackson had gone, and it was one that you could see with the curler that it might come in, and it didn't quite have enough on it.
Just went wide. So Nick, we've obviously started the second half with a bit more purpose now, a lot more purpose than the first half. We've played with an intensity that we didn't see in the first half, and it was no surprise that we've equalised, and then we've gone 2-1 up, given the pressure we were putting on them. So do you want to talk us through the penalty incident and the penalty itself?
Yeah, so it was a great ball through from Gabriel, wasn't it, through to Mitchell over the top, and he's got in and been very clever, I think, with his positioning. And there was a bit of talk on the chat saying it was a soft penalty, and yeah, there probably wasn't much contact, but there doesn't need to be, does there? He's probably maybe anticipated it, felt the touch, gone down, and he's given it. You don't get many replays, do you? But there's contact, albeit not a lot. But for me, I think it is a penalty, albeit a soft one. And then you're not worried because Jerry's stepping up. Although I'd muted the chat because I was probably about 30 seconds behind on mine, and I just had a quick look, and someone put missed.
It was Jordan. It was Jordan Hayes. I saw it as well. I thought.
So I was like,
no,
I don't believe it. And then obviously he slots it home. It was a great penalty, to be fair. But I think we deserved it on that second half because we had a lot more intensity. I thought Mitchell and Gabriel down the right were linking up really well. I think Mitchell had a brilliant second half. Yeah, so it was a deserved lead for me at that point.
Tim, your thoughts on the goal and Mitchell's all-round play today? As Nick's just alluded to
I think
there.
first of all, I thought Gabriel's ball over the little chip over the defence to
give
play
us a Timism to describe it. Give us a Timism to describe
Timism, and it was. Oh gosh, you put me on the spot now. They normally flow naturally. It was
exquisite. They don't work.
It was exquisite.
Timisms don't work, do they? Not.
No, they've got to come naturally. It was an exquisite ball over the top that just chipped in and put him through, and it was pure quality. And then so Mitchell sort of showed a bit of pace to get himself in the box. I thought it was a penalty as he did go.
The ref was the ref was very instant, wasn't he? Straight away. Yeah. So
and they were moaning like mad about it, weren't they? But to be honest, I think, and some of in our chat they were saying that it was a bit soft, but I'm not sure that it was. I thought
I would have been disappointed if that had been given against us personally.
You would, yeah, because you said it was soft, wouldn't you?
I said it was soft. I thought it was soft.
Yeah, but listen, if we've used the dark arts to get it, then every credit, because it happens. How many times we've had teams do that against us this season. But my immediate reaction was, it is a penalty. And for whatever reason, probably because of the first half performance, I wasn't 100% sure that Jerry was going to put it away. Where I'm normally, as I said on Tuesday night, really, really confident. I wasn't. So it was great to see it hit the back of the net, because he hadn't, we'll go on to talk about it at the end, but he didn't have the best of games himself, did he? Bless him. He didn't quite see the same chasing down. You didn't quite see the same control that we've seen in recent games.
He has been putting a lot of shifts in recently, haven't he?
Well, and listen, he's got a few brownie points in the locker, hasn't he? With all of us. So I'm not going to be too critical. And we have spoken about how you keep up that high pressing game after game after game, and I can imagine it is actually quite difficult. And he obviously picked up a knock on Tuesday night as well, and it was touch and go as to whether he was going to start. So whether part of his, I just felt he was slightly more standoffish tonight, and I say tonight, obviously this afternoon. I thought he was slightly more standoffish against what we've seen in recent weeks, and it might be because he knew he was carrying that injury, and that Blackpool wanted him to play, but he knew he couldn't push himself 100%. He maybe had to hold back and go 80%.
But with the penalty itself, I noticed the keeper went down to his right, which where Jerry Yates put his last penalty. He does tend to put quite a few of his penalties, but he's gone completely different. He's put it in the top right and a decent top, medium to top right.
Yeah. So, well, you've got to vary, haven't you? Because the keepers will watch what you do, and particularly when you've had a penalty on Tuesday night very recently, they're bound to, as part of their pre-match preparation, look at that game and look at, and the keeper's obviously going to look at what a player does when the penalty comes along, and so he does right to vary his approach and vary the way that he puts them.
Cometh the hour, cometh the man. Even when he's off form, he's still banging him in. So that's put us 2-1 up. We're in the driving seat, and Nick, we did look dangerous for the for another 15 minutes, and potentially we should have put the game to bed. I've just written 66 minutes. We've had an Embo inverse P roller into Rose Ed. He's had a couple of P rollers in the last 2 games, and this was an inverse of that, to quote Phil.
Yeah, there was the Grant Ward chant as well, wasn't there? That was a decent effort. That was well saved, and it just came out, and Kai just swung at it and missed it, didn't he? So we had a couple of chances.
He intercepted there's a ball played across the middle of the last third of their midfield, wasn't it? And he intercepted it, and great shot, to be fair.
Yeah.
Oh, Steve, and then don't put that. We were fitting the table at this point. We've had another penalty shout, Nick, on 77 minutes. I'd say this was more a penalty than the penalty.
Yeah, he slid in. Don't think he got the ball, and there's probably contact. And ref was well placed on that one, wasn't he? He was right next to it.
He's not going to give 2 pens, is he, in a game, unless there's an absolute stonewaller.
Yeah. I don't know. What did you think, Tim? There was quite a lot on the chat.
I thought it was.
I thought it was.
Yeah. The frustration all around that period was I actually felt our decision making was quite poor in that once we got in that penalty area, and we were that much on top up until about 75, 80 minutes that we should really have put it beyond doubt, shouldn't we? We should have been. I always had this niggle because obviously it's happened so many times in recent weeks, hasn't it? Where we've let a lead go in the last few minutes. I always thought we want this third. You just had this feeling that otherwise it was going to come back and bite us on the backside, and I just felt all those chances. And I just felt when we got in those last, we just didn't quite have the killer instinct, and it's been a bit of an issue with us all season, to be honest, hasn't it? About whether we have this killer instinct or not to finish games off. And we should have done that. I thought we were so much better than them for that first 30 minutes of the second half that in some ways, listen, at half time would have snapped your hand off.
Draw. Point. Had it, yeah.
But we were so good in that 20, 30 minutes as against the way they were. I ended up being disappointed that we hadn't got that third goal.
Okay, Nick, as Tim's just said there, that, he had this horrible nagging feeling in the back of his mind they were going to grab one, and sickeningly they did on 90 minutes. So talk us through. They did,
yeah.
Horrible moment.
Ball comes over, and, if it had been a worldie from the striker or something, you'd maybe hold your hands up and go, do you know what, fair enough. But when it was the fullback, wasn't it, I think, running 40-odd yards,
not
to
marked.
slot it home unmarked, somebody's let him go there, haven't they? Somebody's not marking the man.
Well, we know who that was.
We do. KK.
I'll just interrupt you, Nick. And listen, it's not a KK bashing, but as just before the final, that start of that phase, Kaikai's got the ball on the left. And he's going to play it down the line, I think, to Yates. I think it was to Yates. And he had nobody on him, and he put it out for throwing for them rather than us keeping possession. So he had to kick a ball 15 yards in a straight line. He didn't. It went out. They got a throw in, and that and it ended up on the right-hand side where you're then talking about and was not picking up. So we're in the 90th minute. We're 2-1 up. We're not playing brilliant. You've got to keep the ball, and we've just allowed a transition of play to move to them that leads to their goal far too easily for me. And it is frustrating because
you've got to work though as well, Tim, haven't you? You know, all right, if you've lost the ball,
and I'm not saying this
work bloody hard, work your bollocks off to get that ball back or stop them from scoring. I'm
not saying this with hindsight. And when that happened, I went, fuck hell, why don't you keep the ball? That's what I was shouting at the time. So it's not like I'm saying, just like looking back and saying, looking for scapegoats. But why are we cheaply giving the ball away in the 90th minute? And obviously, if you watch it back when the ball goes down their left, our right, you can hear the thing going up. The 90 minutes had gone up, and they were just going into stoppage time.
Didn't Michael Jackson say on the comms as well?
Yeah,
but he said it about a minute before the commentator's curse. He reminded everyone of how many last-minute equalisers Blackpool have conceded.
He had to apologise, didn't he, afterwards? But to be fair to Michael, he was saying it. He was saying what we were all thinking, and all I could think about at the time was, because to be honest, I know we haven't mentioned it, but we brought Robson on, and actually, I'm not sure that quite worked for us really. I know the intention was to make us a bit more solid across the middle, but did it? I don't know whether it did. But yeah, just giving that ball away so cheaply on the left, and then as Nick's going to go on to say,
it was a wholly unpredictable, wholly preventable goal, as was the first.
Yeah,
that's it. It was a decent finish, but it was preventable, wasn't it? I think Gabriel got caught a bit as well and allow him to get the cross in, and it's a sickener, isn't it? And what's that now? Is that the third time it's happened in the
five? We've drawn 5 out of the last 6 at home, I think, something like that.
Yeah,
we're all winning.
Last-minute goals.
4 out of 5, definitely.
4 out of 5. Yeah, so that's another. Quickly looking at the table, that'd been another 2, 4, 6. It's another 8 points that would put us on 57, 66 points. That would put us in just below third.
You're never going to win every single game, but it's very frustrating because we would have been, I think, 3 points behind Lincoln with 2 games in hand. And games like this are what define your season. We've got some tough ones coming up, and this should have been a 3-pointer. But we can't ignore. If you look back over the last few games and you think, right, well, we've beaten Oxford and we've beaten Peterborough and we've drawn against Plymouth. If somebody said to you, would you take 7 out of 9? Then the reality is that you would, wouldn't you? Without a shadow of a doubt, because
4 out of the last 2, even Tim.
Yeah.
So would. Yeah.
Listen, we can't be too critical. I think our frustration.
It's annoying.
Tonight,
it's just annoying, isn't it?
It's annoying, and it's frustrating because the easy games we're letting go and we're winning the tough ones, and it's frustrating that if we could convert the easy ones into wins, we would have genuinely had a chance of going up automatically, because we are good when we're on our game. We're good enough.
Right, let's move on to player ratings. Was there any more chances in the game? So, Tim, let's kick off with you with Chris Maxwell and his hurt finger.
Yeah, I actually thought he had quite a good game today. I don't think he could have done much. He wasn't at fault for the first goal because he got, he made a half decent save, and it was, his defence for me let him down. And the second goal, I don't think it was such a great strike.
He's getting nowhere near it, is he?
And I think, that is we've had a couple of quality goals scored against us in the last couple of games, haven't we? And I actually thought his handling throughout was pretty good. His distribution at the back was pretty good. So I think he's one of the ones who can hold the heads up high today. And it's a decent 8.
I think he's up there for the man of the match award. Nick, let's move on to you now. Jordan Gabriel.
Yeah, I think second half, going forward, which we know is a strong point for him. He linked up really well with
potentially
Mitchell.
At fault for the equaliser. Some are saying.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. Yeah, I think that's where it was. It didn't go so well. But overall, I think I'm going to say a 7, solid 7.
Right, Tim, I'll give you Jordan Thornley. One Jordan after the other. hooked at half time.
Yeah, rightly as well. Actually, listen, you sometimes think Critch is a bit soft with his substitutions, but I think he did the right. Not the right. I'm sure Jordan will be fuming, but I think he did the right thing. And I think I don't know how much we're going to see of Jordan moving forward, because as the centre backs come back, he's played well for us, but his shortcomings were very much exposed today, weren't they? I can't give him more than a 5.
Brutal but fair. His makeshift centre-half partner, Ollie Turton. Nick.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's makeshift, isn't it? So, he's being asked to step in, and he's all of those things that Chidgey calls him: steady Eddie, Mr. Reliable. I think it's probably
he's made a load of. He made one really good block as well in last ditch challenge for me. So
yeah,
he's not done anything wrong for me. Turn.
No, it's a steady Eddie 7 out of 10.
Give him a 7+, Nick. Go on.
So I'll give him a Tim 7+.
Right, the left back, Tim. Luke crap at free kicks. Garbett.
Yeah, it wasn't one of his better performances today. Bless him, was it? But he wasn't poor, but wasn't great.
After his man of match display the other day, he set the bar, didn't he? And
he did. And
near the bar
disappointed, aren't you? You're disappointed when we didn't seem to have many corners today, but we know where we get the corners, we get the free kicks. That's where you're really seeing the best out of him. And we saw a fantastic performance from him the other night against the Oxford one where I gave him 10. He was way, but he wasn't the only one. Hasten to add, everybody was way below that. But I'm toying between a 6 and a 7, and I think
I'm thinking 6, Tim.
Yeah, I think it's a 6+, 6+ or a 7-, but I'll let you. I'll let your assessment hold sway and go with that. Go with the 6.
Okay, Nick. King Kenny with the Prince Andrew performance today.
It wasn't his best game today, was it? Bit slack in possession, which is unusual for him because he's normally Mr. Reliable. I still like him and Ward together. I think it's a decent midfield pairing for us, but wasn't quite at the races today. And I think it's a 6.
Yeah, that was in my head. Grant Ward's up there for man of the match for me.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the first half, but then again, I'm not sure about the first half for anybody.
Man of the second half, then.
Yeah, man of the second half.
In fact, we'll do that. There's no man of the match for the first half. It's man of the second half.
Yeah, I think on the base of the second half, I'd give him an 8. I think it'd have been a 6 on the first half. So I would actually give. I'm going to be fair to everybody else. I'm going to give him it. I can understand what you're saying, but I'm going to give him a 7 because Nick, I don't think his first half performance wasn't good enough.
Okay, fair. That's fair enough. Nick, Dimmy Mitchell is his best bud. Chizzy likes to refer to him. Also up there for me in a contender for man of the match. That played very well.
Yeah, I've just got to reference Chris Walker's comment. Why don't we give half marks? And what's wrong with decimals? Or is that too nerdy? So it's because Tim. This is from Tim originally, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
I like Tim's system better actually. And
yeah,
Chris,
it's plus or minus all the way.
Yeah, Chris, as Ben has said, there's some nerdy geeks on the pitch when you and I were involved in that face-off 11 years ago. So there you go.
So going back to Mitchell. I think certainly for his second half display, he was really good. I don't think anybody was any good in the first half, but second half he had some good chances. He was involved, wasn't he? He got the pen. So I'm going to say an 8.
Yep, I agree with that. Sound a bit like Partridge then, didn't it? When he just goes, yep. Elliot Embleton, or Embers.
Embers.
The invisible man in the first half.
Talking about Alan Partridge, if you like on the podcast, you must do if you haven't done it yet, download the audio podcast of Alan Partridge from the Oast House. It's hilarious if you haven't listened to it.
Oh,
just a little plug for Alan.
Behind the Seasiders podcast, yeah. Obviously.
Of course. So we're on Elliot. Yeah, he was shocking in the first half. Listen, perhaps shocking maybe is the wrong word. He
anonymous.
He was anonymous. Yeah, he was anonymous. But then he came to life for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I actually think taking him off was the wrong call, but it's no higher than a 6+ overall.
Nick, you've got Mr. Kai. We've been singing his praises for the last 2 or 3 games, but it was, although he scored, not his best performance for me.
No, it wasn't. But like you say, he's got a goal. You know, he's in the right place, and he's put the ball in the back of the net. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because everybody was so poor in the first half.
7's a good average score, isn't it? Then
this is what I think. For a lot of them, it is
7 minus 6+.
Yeah, it's probably around that 6.5, 7. I'll sneak it to a 7.
Very generous.
Finally, Phil's comment there made me chuckle.
What's he put on? Drew said Edmonton was so shit, I've sent him to bed with no OT. I thought, Phil, you'd have done that if he'd have said Kai was so shit, you'd have sent him to bed with no OT. He wasn't great today.
I think a 7 for Kai was quite generous, to be honest.
Very generous.
Too generous.
Revise it now.
No, I'm sticking by it. Phil's sending me a tenner in the post.
Right, Tim, just to wrap this up.
Yeah, I think as I touched upon earlier, Jerry wasn't quite at the races today, and I suspect it had something to do with this injury. And I think because we've got injuries elsewhere, I think he's played when he might otherwise have been rested. So I'm going to be a little bit. I'm going to be kind, but I'm going to qualify what I say by I actually don't think he was fully match fit because we saw nothing of the running that we saw on Tuesday night. And I think that was him having to play within himself, like you do at walking football, John, so that you don't pull your hammy in the first 5 minutes.
Play at 3/4 pace, yeah?
Yeah. So that's what he was doing, basically. So penalty was good, but otherwise I think his contribution was limited. So it's a 6.
I think with Jerry, Tim, the Saturday, Tuesday, it's catching up with him, hasn't it?
Yeah. And listen, and it's not a massive
intensity that he plays.
I've got to be fair with scoring. If you're going to score other people 6, he was no better than them. So I'm not going just because he's played well in previous games. There's got to be consistency in the scoring, and it wasn't great. But but there's an understanding behind it. I think I genuinely don't think we'd have played him tonight. For instance, today, I keep saying tonight. If Medee was fit, I don't think he'd have played today.
You got a decent shout from Cliff there, Nick. If I was doing a pod presenter rating, I reckon Nick is worth a 9+ for sticking with it.
Cliff. Yes, I think I'm heading there not long after this show. I'm feeling it a bit after that job.
It's starting to come on you now, is it, Nick?
Yeah. I don't think I'll make match of the day. It won't be on, will it? There's no prem or the boxing later. Yeah.
And we're walking at 7:30, so be up nice and sharp and early, please.
He's not going to be up for that.
That's not happening, is it?
No.
Right, rate the manager, Tim. Manager rating.
I don't think you can overly criticise the manager for what happened today. I think the team. He picked the team that most of us would have picked. Yeah, and he's made the right decision at half time. It's only with the benefit of hindsight. But I don't think the bringing the Robson on actually helped us. I also don't think he could have done much because with the best will in the world, the lads he had on the bench were not good. You want to bring them on when you're 2 or 3 goals to the good. and give them a chance. You're not going to risk them in a game when it's finely balanced. So I don't think he could have done much more than he did today. So it's an 8 from me.
I think he could have dropped Thornley, he
could with hindsight.
The Viking.
Yeah, but he could with hindsight. But we could sit here at 7 o'clock at night and say the way Thornley played, he should have dropped him. But if the way Thornley played on Tuesday night and last Saturday, you wouldn't drop him, and I don't think it would have been fair. I'd
have dropped him, Tim. But
you're a ruthless under-8s manager at Bolton Youth. I'm retired and
more mellow,
and slightly more mellow about it.
So, what's your rating, Tim? Sorry, I've missed
80,
that in all this.
It's an 8. Actually, I don't think he did anything wrong.
Fair enough.
Nick, he can't dictate what goes on the pitch all the time.
Right, Nick, over to you. Manager rating.
I think it, like we said at the start, it pretty much picks itself, the team, doesn't it? And then he's made the right decision at half time to bring the Viking on. So I'll probably concur with Tim and sneak an 8 in. I think
I'm going to give him a 7.
Second half, so
yeah, I'm going to give him a 7. Like, he couldn't have done a lot, like I said, with the team apart from the Viking. So he's dropped a bit of a bollock there, but. Yeah, everything's good in hindsight. Right, man of the match, Tim. Over to you.
Oh God.
Did you just drink some? Have you drink that didn't have gin in then?
No. Why?
And yeah. Oh God.
No. It's oh God. Who's man of the match?
That was a joke.
Just and it's just. Probably Mitchell, but it's thin pickings.
Mitchell gets mine. I'll throw mine out there straight away. It was Mitchell for me.
Mitchell, but thin picking. It could have been Ward for second. It was one of those Jekyll and Hyde performances again. It wasn't like we saw at Burton and
bongs and lines.
Yeah, and his touch in the first half was pretty poor. But he kept working, kept fighting away, and then the second half, he was involved in most of what we did that was good. So probably
Nicholas.
I'm going to say Ward because I think although he wasn't brilliant first half, he wasn't as bad as quite a few of them, and he was decent second half. Mitchell did well second half, and he's a contender as well. But I'm just going to give it to Ward.
Oh, that's fair enough. Fair enough. Right, we haven't got a game Tuesday for once. So
wow.
Easter's on the way, isn't it? And we've got
Friday, isn't it? On Friday against Swindon.
So that's a game we've got to win. So let's
it's another 0-0 or 1-1 draw, isn't it?
Yeah, let's just get the league table up quickly before we go. I just registered what you said there.
The cynic in me.
Right, how do I make it bigger? With one of those Austin Power style pumps. There. Right, so we are now in 6th place. Oh, we're still in 6th position and 57 points. So we've not done that badly, really. We've gone over Donny.
Donny lost, didn't they?
You just talk about, I think Eddie's at the
door. Yeah, Donny lost, which was good for us. I'd say it's a bit frustrating to look at it because if we'd had those extra 2 points, we'd have been right on Lincoln's tails with 2 games in hand. We have got to play them though, so if we could beat them when we play them, then that's a proper 6-pointer, isn't it?
It is.
Portsmouth held on, even though they went down to 10 men, which is a bit, I was hoping when they got a man sent off, they might drop down to a draw. I forgot what the score was. Gillingham played Hull and they drew, didn't they? So that's sort of quite good for keeping Gillingham at bay.
There's not a lot of damage done, really.
No, not too much damage done. But then you think, we could have had that little bit of extra momentum. But if buts and maybes, we are where we are, and we've still got an incredible record. If you analyse it over the last 25, 26, 27 games, we're literally the best performing team in the league. So it's very difficult to be too critical of where we're at. It's just because we're
it's
also
just the nature of that last minute goal, isn't it? It just really puts a downer on it for some reason.
Yeah, and it's because it's happened 3 times, it virtually on the trot, that you are frustrated, because with those extra 6 points, we would be level, if not above Lincoln, and literally on the coattails of Sunderland with 2 games against them. So it is what it is. Listen, if you'd given us this in October when we were sat bottom of the league, we would have we wouldn't have believed you, would we? So listen, let's be thankful for small mercies.
Yeah. Closing thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, look at that table, and there's a lot to be positive about, isn't there? Yeah, it's frustrating and disappointing when it's another last-minute goal, but 7 from 9 against those last 3 games, we'd all have taken it, wouldn't we? Look at the injuries, and we're patched up a bit, and we've been on a phenomenal run, and still are. And even if we don't always play well, we're managing not to get beat, which is a good thing. So there's a hell of a lot still to be positive about for me, definitely.
Well, certainly is. Right, everybody, just before we go, please like and subscribe to the Seasiders podcast on YouTube if you've not done so already. Hit the notification bell, because it gives you an automatic notification whenever we do go live again. Right, we're coming back next week. We might even do a full fat pod before the Easter break, so stay tuned for that. And all that needs to be said is thanks for watching, thanks for downloading, and up the pool.
Up the pool.
Up the pool.
Ollie's already changed the world. Small town from the north of England with a great tradition.